Greetings and salutations to all you folks out there. Today we're going to be looking at Wonder. Yes, the chaotic map is back. This is the 4 versus 4 version 3B, which I think is the version, yes, that does not have the mass in the center. So you basically have to reclaim all of the rocks that you can possibly get your little mitts on and hope for the best. Let's go ahead and introduce the teams and see where this game will take us. On the north side, we have the Pirate as Aeon. We've got Forgotten as Cybern on the right flank. Center is held down by Mixed Mercury, who is also Cybern, and then Seraphim for Montes 79. On the south side, we have Warp Sprite covering the left side. We have JDP 623 as UEF, front and center. Another UEF for Capoeira. Is that correct? Capoeira. We're going to call him Cap. And on the south side, for the air slot, we have Mozzarella. He is Aeon, as is traditional, because you have double resource allocation should the game get that far. Alrighty then, let's see what everybody's doing for the early builds. We've got a double Land Factory build with a very unfortunate walk from Forgotten's ACU because there were a couple of little pebbles underneath the factory, although I guess with the scale of Supreme Commander, these are gigantic boulders, but yeah, they're little rocks compared to the ACUs that we all think of as our little people on the map. Pirate grabbing 4 land factories after a first air, which is only producing engineers. I'm not entirely sure why that is the case. Odd, but we'll give it to him. Monte going 1 land factory, a second land factory with an engineer in the back after the Hydro, and walking the ACU up to the front, which is pretty typical. We've got a single land factory for Cap, who is building another on the front line. Single and second air for Warp Sprite, and 1 land factory over there. And then we do have second air for Mozzarella, who looks like he is doing a pretty typical build. Now, I do like building a few extra land factories as the air player. Looks like Pirate was having some power problems because he has abandoned, he has abandoned his factory build and is now spamming P-gens as fast as he can. I like getting a few extra land factories on because you can pay back the cost of your land factories with a bunch of reclaim, grabbing all of the mass contained in your trees. There are a lot of rocks. Now, I know there's not a whole lot of large reclaim pieces. There are a few, as you can see, scattered around the map, but there are bunches and bunches of little rocks all through here. As long as you can get engineers out to grab them, it is well worth your while. Looks like Mozzarella is getting a first bomber out. Not a first bomber, an early-ish bomber, I should say. Little misstep of the tongue there. He is going to get that out and possibly field it against some of the engineers and forces out here. I like all the scouts that JDP has gotten online. That's going to let him know exactly what's coming his way. And he does have a couple of mech marines headed over to the left, getting a little early aggression in there. Maybe pick up that engineer on this side. It looks like that is the case. Mix, build more factories, like 8 of them. Well, you know, that is actually pretty good advice for somebody who is playing front center. We've got an early T2 mass extractor up. He got that right off of the first reclaim that he snagged. Maybe not be quite that salty, bud. But anyway, you do want to spam land as hard as possible if you're Cyber, because Mantis are your greatest strength early in the game. Yes, you do have some good units later on, but yeah, Mantis are speedy, and you can get that gun stealth comm, and it is a force to be reckoned with. In the first portion of the game, we got 2 kills on that bomber, almost to first vet. Not entirely sure where he is headed. He is kind of looping around just a little bit. Looks like he has sighted something over that way that he's going to grab. A little bit of an engagement across the front line, not too terribly much. We do have a decent land spam coming down from Forgotten, but that is going to collide with a T1 point defense and have to fall back. Well placed by Cap. He's going to have just enough units to fend that off, and I think it will work out reasonably well for him. Well, look at that. We've got 2 Thams all the way in the back of the base, wrecking the power situation. If they would have been able to kill that tank right there, double team it, could have gotten a little further, but nonetheless, they have done significant damage to the power grid. And then a little bit of a skirt right here. Looks like Forgotten's ramming those Mantis around the corner, where Mixed Mercury has done the same. They're going to get down in the build power in JDP's base, and that's going to leave him hanging out to dry in the front. We've got units closing from 3 sides. Pirate Oh my goodness, I see what this is. Pirate has gone full-scale land build, and they are going to try to overwhelm the Southern team with brute force tactics. JDP taking quite a bit of damage here as all these units close in. Cap, seeing what's happening, is pushing out towards the middle and trying to stave off at least one source of units. This is turning into a major spam for these three players. That is exactly why Mixed Mercury needed to get some more land factories down, because this looks like a pre-discussed strategy where they are just trying to ram as many units as they possibly can down the throat of the South team in hopes of overwhelming them before the tech in air slot comes into play. Although there is already a T2 factory online, Mercies would not be out of place because well, there is some anti-air, but I don't think there's enough to stave off a full-blown Mercy attempt. Cup is easily overcharging a couple little groups of units there, holding these units back. Pirate moving towards the south side now. Looks like Warp Sprite is building up a T1 point defense that will work fantastically well until the T1 artillery shows up, because as we all know, T1 artillery is the direct counter to the T1 point defense. Warp Sprite probably going to have to fall back here because we have a nightmarish quantity of Auroras paired with a lethal amount of THAMs and a 2 versus 1 ACU. Holy crap, that is the most doomed commander I have ever seen in my life. Warp Sprite running as fast as he can back. There is no help to be found in the rear here. Mozzarella upgrading gun. When was the last time you saw the air player upgrading, getting the gun upgrade? Although I think that is definitely something worthwhile, because he is seeing the front fold in. He's seeing Warp Sprite just about ready to collapse and knows that he has got to get something online that can stop the fall of the south side. Look at all the land factories going down here. JDP building with his ACU. This is a situation where I would definitely be moving engineers to my ACU, grabbing a gun upgrade exactly like Mozzarella is doing, and letting my engineers build all of the land factories that needed to be built. Your ACU is only worth 2 T1 engineers in build power. A little bit of harassment there with the gunship. Nice to see air dipping a toe into the situation on the front. Your ACU is only worth 2 T1 Engies in build power, but it is worth 20 T1 tanks on the front line, if not more, with some careful micro, some well-placed overcharges, and the gun upgrade makes it exponentially more survivable. So this right here is a complete and total waste. JDP needs to get his butt to the front line. Got a few tanks moving into the left side expansion, just a little bit of denial, making sure that nobody can grab those mass extractors. If he is not stopped, well, he does have a move order placed to the back there. I would be pushing all of these units into the air player's base, because you need to get that build power in the back end there, prevent him from scaling up his air production and doing something disastrous, because I don't think there is any air at all from the north side. I would be correct in that assumption. The only air factory is building interceptors one by one, unassisted. So, yeah, there is now one Inti on the field. Hoorah! Southside has been building gunships almost exclusively and still has more air. But there is a tank advantage, and you cannot underestimate that. JDP dropping that gun upgrade, but it may be too little, too late. He is mass stalling like a mofo. He's got to get these factories paused to get that upgrade done ASAP. Throwing more engineers does not help it when you do not have the mass in the first place. Maybe grab some of this reclaim around here that is scattered around the ground, just waiting to be nabbed so that you can get that upgrade more quickly. Mozzarella does have the double gun upgrade, moving up into range to lay in some damage and protect JDP, but he does need to watch out and not shoot his teammate in the back, because friendly fire is most definitely a thing. Forgotten being forced back by some T2. There's a Mongoose out, which does have some tremendous damage potential. We've got some point defense down as well, 2 triads and a couple of T1 point defense going down. Only 3,000 health. Oh, 4,000. There's the veterancy after the overcharge on the Mongoose. It is not as fragile an ECU as I thought it was. Looks like Cap has no upgrades. He does have 2 stars of vet and very nearly died in that last engagement. but he is back just a little bit. JDP did finish the gun upgrade off. He now cannot be outranged by the Auroras that are clumping there in the back, but that still does not solve the problem of units moving into the base behind him. These guys are getting strangled by the stream of T1 units moving in amongst their build power in with the eco. The only thing that I can see that's good here is that if they can ever gain their feet, they will have a lot of reclaim on their side of the map, and not having as many mass extractors really will not matter. Forgotten down to 1800 health, and there are 2 gunships on him. He is dropping rather rapidly. A third moving up from the back with a Mongoose laying in damage from afar, trying to get a T1 anti-air turret down, but he only has the gun upgrade, not T2. Cannot build that very quickly. 400 health. Dipping. I saw 300 for a second there, but the anti-air moving up has finally dropped that gunship. 430 health looks like the finishing number, and he is barely going to get out alive and move towards the back end. This is looking not so hot for the South team. Mozzarella and JDP pairing their commanders together. Those 2 upgrades going to work on all of these units. In the back, there is not much to be dealt with, but there is some T2 land coming out of Mozzarella's base. He's got Obsidians online. Those are going to make an excellent frontline unit to try to get some of this damage off the ACU. You don't want your ACU to be snipeable in a situation like this. Although, there still is not much air. I don't see any bombers, don't see any mercies, don't see anything like that. I do see, however, 2 TAC launchers, which are launching missiles. Is he going to get a luck shot? I think all of the ACUs are moving around too much for that. But it looks like he has fired at something. Maybe it's a factory. Maybe it's where the ACU was just a moment ago. That almost... If that ACU would have been a little bit farther back, we might have gotten a mid-air collision on that one. But it was a miss, so the ACU is going to stay alive. Obsidians moving in on all of these T1s. I would have thought that Obsidians did very well versus T1s because they eliminate 1 per shot, reducing the damage potential of the hull very early on. But I have been informed by parties that I think know what they're talking about, that Obsidians actually don't do that well versus T1 because they have so much overkill. Blazes have far less DPS, but basically nil overkill, so it's kind of a little bit of a trade-off there. I don't know. I like the beefy units like Obsidians, so I think I would take Obsidians over Blazes unless I need a raiding unit, because Obsidians are freaking slow. Cap gaining some veterancy there, up to 4,000, almost 5,000 HP very briefly until he continued to walk in a straight line under artillery fire, and that did not help his health bar at all. He is down to 2,400 health again and standing in one spot under some T1. Already no, buddy. You gotta move. 1,500, 1,100 health. Get out. 900, 8. Oh my. No, 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 no. Don't do this. 5-4. We're watching him. I don't want to miss a death. Pirate has moved in against a gun commander at 15,000 health and a pack of gunships. Why you do this thing? Pirate is down. That takes out a large portion of the units. Can they kill the ACU before the units go away? 190 health. And all the artillery shots are in the ground. Nothing on the ACU. That was one of the closest survivals. Holy cow. He could have been killed by stray arty fire after the purge. And that is a terrifying thought. But as it stands, we now have 3 versus 3. 3 bases versus 2 bases. But I think these guys might be finally gaining the upper hand. They do have a tech advantage. They've got T2 land. They do have multiple gun commanders. This may not be quite so bad after all. That gun comm is in the back. He is on 4,000 health. We've got another commander with T2 over here at 1,400 health. And another commander with the gun upgrade at full health on the front line. These guys have got to survive yet another wave. They're trying to field units in front of Cap's ACU. It's only at 600 health. Little bit too low to try to step up and grab some veterancy. He's got 30 vet points to the next one. That is 30 T1 units or what? 10 to 15 T2s. I forget how that counts. Yeah, he is going to have a little bit of a time getting veterancy. But at least he is regenning very, very quickly. thanks to that vet. If I were him, I would step back and get some form of upgrade, either T2 to get some more HP and regen on that ACU, or go gun upgrade and make your ACU a little bit survivable in such a war-torn environment. Looks like we have the... Did a T2 air factory get shut down? I think it died. I do think it died to a raid in the back, and I was preoccupied with what was going on up here in the much more interesting ACU arena. But oh well. JDP grabbing an upgrade there. Probably yes, that is the T2, minus 7 mass per tick. Mozzarella, content with his double upgrade, is going to lay in some damage on Mixed Mercury from very, very far away. You can outrange other ACUs completely with the ACU double gun, the Aeon double gun, excuse me. Freaking fantastic upgrade. Monte is... he started a T2 radar. There he goes. He is building the T2 radar now. And we now have some units closing in on the back end. Like tactical missile defense, and there was a death. Looks like Mozzarella pursued Mixed Mercury to his demise. That is why you do not engage an Aeon double gun commander unless you have some units to back you up and tangle up that other ACU's pathfinding to get it off your case. However, Mozzarella is going to have other things to deal with. There are some tanks in the back. There's a few Zooies in the mix back here. That is where you want T1 artillery that you can just flood into the base. Doesn't really matter how many T1 point defense they have, because your automatic target finding will eliminate them all very quickly. Oblivion turrets, those are not so great versus T1, but it will give some range so that they can eliminate those Zooies from far out. Obsidian's cleaning up the rest. Looks like that was an attempt on the T2 power generators in the back, but that is not going to be successful. T2 air factory is back online. It's going to start pumping out more gunships. I'm wondering if the T2 air factory was lost to TAC missiles. That would explain all of the TMD being built, and also account for the TMLs that were over here at one point in time, although I think the player that owned them is now dead. Okay, got a couple of T1s in the back. Those two are probably going to get nailed by an Obsidian, or I could be wrong. Oh, there they go. Slight variation in terrain and the units bumping into each other was enough to shrug off those Oblivion shots, at least temporarily. Got two Ilshivas moving in, eliminating these mass extractors, and that is painful because they were almost to T2 upgrades, every single one of them. Mozzarella, I'm sure, is regretting that loss right there. Mozzarella throwing down a T2P gen to help out JDP, assisting that, because hey, if you assist the teammates and they overflow power, it helps you as well. Also, that is going to be his only structure. That means that he has access to overcharge if he can get an energy storage up. At this point on your income, good sir, I would reclaim a few of these wrecks, build a T1 land factory, spam out some engineers to get some reclaims so that you actually have a decent amount of income, get a T2P gen up and a energy storage so that you have overcharge, and then immediately throw your ACU into the fight. When you have no base, the best thing you can do is generate more reclaim for your team. And to do that, you need to throw that ACU out there and kill some stuff. You could TML snipe Blue. I don't think that you could TML snipe Blue because he does have TMD. Just produce a lot and outproduce them. I think that is the plan up here, because holy hell, Attack of the Medusas. Looks like he is building up a lot of them. 74 and counting, and this is exactly what I was mentioning just a minute ago, where basically, oh, PGen down. Looks like we got Nothas in the back trying to snipe the power, and there is simply not enough interceptors to drop them all quickly enough. Okay, so we do have more T1 collecting over here. The issue is that this base is rapidly approaching critical mass. Why are you building a kennel when you have no income? Build a freaking T1 land factory so that you can actually get some engineers out that will automatically reclaim without you having to order them to. For 700 rank, probably should not be too hard on him. Alrighty then, Nothas are being dropped only after the second T2P gen is down. You got to get those units into white space and kill stuff. He has T3 land. Yes, that is the truth. We got a Harbinger in the back. Notha's moving in again. Build power would not be a bad target on this, but it looks like he is going for the P-Gens. Also not a bad target. Mozzarella does not have resource allocation. He's down to 1,500 power income, but he does have enough to sustain what he is doing and feed a hefty amount of overcharges. Looks like we got Harbingers moving up. Those will take care of the T1 very easily. And look at that T3 land from Forgotten as well. He has gone T3 on one factory, heavily assisted building bricks and T3 mobile artillery, while Medusas own the front line, laying in tons and tons of damage. Anything T2 or lower is going to get stunned by the Medusa shots. That is just icing on the cake for these OP little units. Why would you want Zooies when you can have Medusas? Actually, I would rather have Zooies for base wrecking. The only advantage to the Medusas, they do have lower DPS, but they do stun point defense, which is huge. Absolutely huge. If you run a bunch of Medusas in without pre-targeting them and a bunch of Zooies in without pre-targeting, I think the Medusas will actually fare at least as well or better because of the stun. Awesome, awesome tool at your disposal. There is a brick on the front. It is harassing Cap, who is the only one who does not have a gun upgrade. Please get the gun upgrade, man. It would help all of us out. Mozzarella is going to be key in this fight because he's got to overcharge those bricks from a distance. If he can land those, there is one right there. The bricks will go down, and that will take the backbone out of this fighting force on the front line. The Medusas are almost dealt with. Harbingers moving up from the back may not even need an overcharge. There it is. Harbies just swarming that T3. That is pretty much all of the T1 that they had at their disposal, but the trebuchets are going to start being a problem. It looks like combined, the north side has more economy. Well, no, they're almost exactly even. And then there is just the random extra player who has 1 income and 500 power. But he is not really doing very useful things, so I suppose it is all the same. Forgotten backing up under fire from the pillars. I think, no, there's only one Harvey. They couldn't have gotten a kill there. Why are you moving up, Forgotten? No. You need to stay back. Keep your ACU safe. Here comes a T2 gunship. You need to just keep your ACU from explodicating, because if you don't die, you will probably win this thanks to superior map control and economy. That single T2 gunship harassing the commander. We've got T1 anti-air going down. It will surely kill that before it is a huge issue. And Mozzarella moving back to the front there, taking control of the situation. We've got Nothas being shot down over here. They were trying to pull off a snipe, but Nothas are not very good at destroying moving targets. Actually, I was wrong. They are going after the T2 mass extractors. They do buildings very well. They have very high DPS, but the area of effect on their bombs is so tiny that you can dodge them very effectively with minimal movement from your ACU. Cap is building up a T2 power generator. Looks like JDP is just chillaxing there in the mid. Honestly, man, there is so much you could be doing to help this game if you were not sitting under your shield in the midst of your buildings. Why you do this to your team? Mozzarella is running back to the base now. Nope, he is just skirting around the outside edge. Looks like he is, I'm not sure what he's doing. Probably just can't decide where to stick his ACU. Monty knows what he's doing, though. He is point defense creeping his way up into this mess. If he can get enough Seraphim point defense down, the Harbies will not be any problem to deal with. Although it looks like the Harbies, I don't think he's actually sighted it. Let's look at Mozzarella's viewpoint. He does not know that that ACU is there. There's the point defense. Now he knows it's there. And we have sight over there. Harvey's changing direction, moving towards the commander. Buddy, you better run. Run with that commander, because that is 7 Harbingers and 5 Obsidians. You are not going to live against that unless you have perfect micro. Oh, you did not get a double kill with the overcharge, and you stalled. Overcharge there, overcharge there. You've got to get a veterancy. You've got to get a veterancy. No! He is out. He had plenty of power for the overcharge, and he simply did not do it. There is a strap bomber out for Mozzarella. I think this is over, folks. That is going to be all of the purple going poof. We've got all these Medusas, all of these bricks. My carpal tunnel. Couldn't click right. I am not sure if that's actually legit, because carpal tunnel is a thing. I don't know. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If he would have been able to pull off that overcharge, he would have survived and also taken out the majority of Mozzarella's units. I am not sure that that would have done anything to change how this game ended up, though, because there was no T3 air or any air defenses on this side, and we had strat bombers coming out for Mozzarella. Of course, Forgotten going down to a group of Harbingers and various and sundry other units as he walked his commander to the front, acknowledging that it was a lost cause. Holy cow, that was a hectic game and an epic comeback for Mozzarella, Cap, and JDP. Well executed. You fought bravely against insurmountable odds and won it thanks to a couple of slight missteps on the other team's part. That, folks, is why you do not give up as long as there is a single glimmer of hope, because you know what? Even if you start getting steamrolled, if you screw up less times than they do, you might be able to take the advantage and pull out a win. Alrighty, that is going to be it for me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please send me your replays. I am in desperate need of some casting material, and I will see you in the next one.